is very, very strange, but it's also very good for me because I can sort of distract away from what's going on, and I understand how good they are, and also understand how the technique works, but I don't understand. I can't put it into practice.
Well, when you sing Gene Pitney, and people are sitting there, you can actually see, especially all the men in the audience, who would fancy themselves as having fairly good voices. And when you're hitting all these Gene Pitney notes in the actual key that he recorded the songs in, and I mean, I'd be gasping for breath, but you can see the audience also, they're looking for oxygen masks as well.
Yeah, I bet so.
He will stay with you for so long, and then all of a sudden, as the song begins to climb, I mean, for instance, I'm Going to Be Strong. There's a note at the end of I'm Going to Be Strong, and if any singer that's taken on that song, if they don't hit that note at the end, then what they did previously in the 2.5 or 2-3 minutes or whatever, doesn't matter. They don't want to know. If you don't hit that note, they don't want to know about the rest of the song. You've actually let the song down.
So, we spoke a little while ago about how you got into the business, and people said you sounded like Gene Pitney. When they were saying, "Oh, you sound like Gene Pitney," did you know much about Gene at the time, or?
No, not really.
No. So he wasn't one of your.
I wouldn't have been too aware of Gene Pitney. It's not something I would have been trying to do. I wasn't. I was one of the last people to know that I was actually singing like Gene Pitney.
Like me.
But I was just singing in his range, the same as the Roy Orbison range. I was lucky enough and blessed enough to have that kind of a range. If you can hit those big notes like those people, like the Roy Orbisons and the Gene Pitneys, then your voice is a little bit more unusual than most.
So, before Gene Pitney and now, apart from Gene, who would you say are your musical heroes?
My idol, believe it or not, was Johnny Mathis.
Really? When a Child Was Born?
Oh, an incredible song, and I had it in my programme, of course, but you only got to sing it once a year, and that was the Christmas
Well, the other one I remember as a boy was the Banana Song. Deo.
That was Harry Belafonte.
That was Harry Belafonte, you're right.
The Banana Boat Song.
I used to love that when I was a boy.
Another great...
Yeah, another great singer as well. So, is there anybody now you sort of look at and think, "Oh, I wish I could do that"?
Not really, because I was asked a question. I got a phone call from a newspaper in Cardiff last week, and they asked me the same question: Is there anybody I could compare in this era, at this day and age, to Gene Pitney? And the answer was no. There is nobody.
I think that I'll be honest with you. I think the distinctive singers have gone. I mean, there's this talent show which I won't slag off too much on a Saturday night. That comes up on the way up to Christmas, so we all know it's on ITV.
Of course.
And you get the guys on there and the singers on there, and they're all the same.
Very much so. If you want to make it, I mean, I like to think I made it in my own way here, in like the category I would be singing, and the I made it to an extent in my own, in Dublin, in my own native city. I'd be as well known as anybody.
Well, you were the number one.
I'm very proud of that fact. But people often say to me, "Tommy, do you feel that you sort of missed the bus?" And no. If I wake up in the morning and if I was to do that, if I was to beat myself up because I didn't become a big star like some of the stars here, the Joe Dolans and the Red Hurleys who became, and Dickie Rock and people like that who became major stars. But no, I don't have any regrets after making a good life, a good living.
Yeah, well, I think that's what everybody likes to... I think there's two things that people like. First, to wake up in the morning, which is always a bonus, and the other one is to make a nice living out of and enjoy what you do. And I'm
lucky. I consider myself lucky, not unlucky. If anybody out there who knows me, even over in the UK, there are people who remember me from the time I started off, and they've moved on. They've moved to the UK, and they've made a life there, and they've raised family there, and they come back here every now and then, and they will seek out Tommy Carey. They will want to know, where's Tommy Carey working? And then, they will come along, and we will relive memories. Of course, I moved to London myself in the late 60s. And I lived in southwest London for almost 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I was still singing there. I was singing around the bars and singing with piano players and singing at parties and weddings. And so I never really stopped, no matter where I've been. I will always get a bit of work somewhere singing.
This is Seclo Sounds, and you can listen to us by clicking Listen Live on our homepage at seclosounds.org for a choice of players. Via TuneIn Radio at www.tunein.com, search for Seclo Sounds and listen online or download the TuneIn app. You can download the Seclo Sounds iPhone app from the iTunes App Store, and you can listen to us on demand at our replay page.
Woke up and the toilet was overflowing. Must call the plumber. Realised the kids needed swimming lessons as it's all got out of control. Luckily the old windows gave out, so we all floated outside. Must get on to the glazers. And now the garden looks atrocious. Now what was the number for that landscaper?
Because you never know when a potential customer needs you, get yourself listed in your local flyer, the local business directory. Your local flyer, bringing businesses to your fingertips.
I mean, the show's called 24 Hours from Tulsa, Remembering Gene Pitney. Tell us a little bit about what people can see if they come to see you, or when they come to see you.
Well, what they're going to see is Tommy Carey from Dublin. They will be taking a chance, a big leap of faith, as I call it, because most of the people will be there, obviously, because of the Gene Pitney connection. And they will be there to hear the Gene Pitney songs. And hopefully that I'll be able to sing them as well as I can.
Yeah. Is it done as like a concert, or is it done like the Jersey Boys where they go through the life?
Well, yeah, it does. To be honest with you, I actually sing 27 Gene Pitney songs in the programme.
Do you know, I'd worked it out.
We do have a narrative.
Well, I counted them as being 32, actually. The list I've got, it's 18 first half and 14 second half.
Well, you're probably right. Because when I was on in the National Concert Hall in February, it was a complete blur. I haven't got just as soon as the piano player nodded his head, we sang another Gene Pitney. In between the narrative. They do, there is a narration goes through the show, backed up with pictures and whatever on a big screen behind me of Gene Pitney sort of, growing up. The whole thing is about Gene Pitney's start and right to the time of his death, and that's basically what the show is. We're taking them through the different eras of Gene Pitney in song.
Which is fabulous, isn't it? It really is a main thing. And you've got a decent sized band on stage. Really, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got 7 members of band, if I read correctly, and a couple of backing singers.
We've got a couple of lovely ladies doing the backing, which is great, and it's great for me to be able to, that they can come over to the UK as well on the tour, because it just makes me feel more at home. Because it's like everything else. Anybody who tells you they're not nervous going on stage for something like that would be just, they're only fooling themselves. We all get nerves. Gene Pitney himself got nerves.
I know, I do sort of stay, I must say, I do comparing and things like this, and I'm nervous every time. And I think when you're not nervous, I think it's when it's all going to go, should we say, wrong on you.
Well, if you're not nervous and you don't feel nerves or whatever, you're either completely ice cold or, you don't really care what you're doing. You have to care about, the audience are the people. They make or break a night. They will make or break you. They will make their own minds up. For Tommy Carey singing the songs of Gene Pitney within the first 4 or 5 songs. If they like what they hear, they will sit and they will listen for the rest of the show and hopefully will appreciate what I'm actually doing. And if they don't, if it doesn't, if it's not to their taste, or, you get people who are sitting there and as soon as you start singing your first song, they go, my God, he doesn't sound like Gene Pitney.
I'm out of here. No.
I mean, there was only one Gene Pitney. I'm not out there trying to be another Gene Pitney.
No.
I'm singing, and very, very lucky, as I've already said, to have inherited a voice similar to Gene Pitney, to inherit his range, to be blessed with that kind of a range, to be able to get up there, soar in the clouds, the same as the great man himself. So
you're, should we say, rather than impersonating him, you're paying tribute to him.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
That's exactly what I was hoping to get at.
I can.
That's what I was hoping I was going to get from you. I'm looking through looking through the set list. I've got the complete set list, or what I believe is a complete set list. I've got perhaps a couple more than you've got. What is your favourite Gene Pitney song?
Oh,
difficult one, isn't it? Oh, that's on the set list, of course.
Yeah, that's a real $1 million.
I know. I like the $1 million question.
There are so many, but if I was to have a favourite, it would be, and I would side with "I'm Gonna Be Strong." I think.
Yeah, which is
backstage sums up all the entertainers. It sums up what it's like to be backstage before and after a show. There are two completely different feelings. I mean, if before you start a show, you've got the butterflies and a little bit of nervous tension, and you don't want to talk with anybody. You just want to be on your own. You just want to focus on what you have to do, and then if it goes well, then you go back to the dressing room and you can't wait for people to come in. You can't wait for them to congratulate you, put their arms around you, hug you, kiss you, whatever goes. Yeah. But solitude, you want to be on your own before them shows. Gene Pitney wanted to be on his own, and I know that for a fact, because I did go into a dressing room once or twice before he would go on. And for any stars, most of them, they don't want, they've nothing to say to you before they go on stage, nothing.
They're in that zone, aren't they? Yeah,
they are definitely in that zone.
Yeah,
and that's from the top to the smaller stage. It doesn't really matter what you've attained or how big or small you are. You still have that. Before you go on stage, it's just the focus to know that you've got to go out and give the audience what they want. If you want them to clap and scream and shout, you've got to give them a reason to do so.
It's really nice. I mean, you said you met Gene. Did he actually ever come and see you perform? Or did you perform ever with him?
No, there is a rumour going round from many, many years ago that one of his, when he was over in Ireland on a tour, I did a big show. It wasn't a tribute to Gene Pitney show, because that would be suicidal if you were trying to do it alongside the man himself. But there was a rumour going around that he did send somebody from his agency to have a listen to see what I was about, to see what I was doing.
Okay. Well, that's nice. That
some of the songs I did in my programme, especially some of the covers. Gene Pitney had an incredible amount of covers on his albums. They weren't all written for Gene Pitney, and he just had this knack of picking out some great songs.
Well, I think that happened a lot in the 60s. I think, if I remember correctly, there was a song called Night Had a Thousand Eyes, and I think there was 4 people had it in the top 40 at the same time.
Oh, it did, yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, I'm just looking through and how many hits he had. I mean, in America, he had 16 top 40 hits and 4 top 10s. In Britain, he had 22 top 40 hits and 11 top 10s. That is quite a record, and he sold 1 million... Well, 24 Hours from Tulsa sold 1 million copies worldwide.
Well, that was incredible. I mean, for that day, that was absolutely incredible. I mean, he had 40 top 40 hits in the UK.
That's a lot of... that is a serious amount of top 40 hits. There's not many people who... I mean, it's probably Elvis, the Beatles, and a handful of people would have had as many as that. And I think he's probably an underrated, sort of looked at singer.
Well, he would have been. I mean, there again, you could say Gene Pitney could have been or should have been much bigger than he actually was, especially in America. I mean, there were parts of America they never even heard of Gene Pitney. I mean, that is absolutely astounding. I mean, there are certain places. It's like here in Ireland. That Gene Pitney tribute show, when we started that in 1977. It was only something you could do. You get maybe 3 or 4 different venues all in one go, and then there were so many places that you just could not play a Gene Pitney show because they went into Gene Pitney. It's only in the major cities here in Ireland that Gene Pitney actually played himself. Yeah,
because I understand Louis Walsh from that Saturday night show I mentioned. He was a big fan of Gene's as well.
Oh, indeed.
So I was told. Well, so I was told.
Here in Ireland, and especially especially in Dublin, in Belfast, in Cork, in the bigger cities, they the Gene Pitney following here is absolutely incredible. I mean, any time I've done the show, we've never had a bad one. We've never had a bad crowd.
Wow.
The concert hall